Good morning, 10th graders. I hope that you're doing well today. It's Monday. I know you're all excited to be back in school. All right, well, last week we read some poems. I don't think we got to read them together, but maybe we did. Anyway, last week we read some poetry. We talked a little bit about simile, metaphor, symbolism, and personification. And so today I want to share with you one of my favorite poems that we get to read this year. This one is loosely titled, Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day? But it is one of Shakespeare's sonnets. He wrote 154 sonnets, and this is his 18th. So we're going to talk a little bit about what makes a sonnet a sonnet. This is something that I don't even know if I learned in high school. I probably did and I forgot, but I find it fascinating. All right, so first of all, sonnets had been around before Shakespeare perfected the sonnet. Sonnets were a way to show someone how much you loved them. It was a way to praise your loved one or give them a token. And it was a very romantic gesture. So the English sonnet was perfected by Shakespeare, and so we now call it the Shakespearean sonnet. A sonnet, it has a very strict structure. It starts with 14 lines. So there's always going to be exactly 14 lines. But even more than that, it's divided into 3 quatrains. So quad, like 4. So these are 4-line stanzas that rhyme. They have a certain structure with their rhyme. There are 3 of these. And then that would make 12 lines. And then you add 2 more. You end with a concluding couplet. So that's 2 lines that rhyme with each other. The ending word, those are the words that rhyme. And even more than that, each quatrain makes a point. So there's a point made with the first one, the second, the third, and then the couplet at the end kind of sums it all up or concludes it. So in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a 3-point essay where you have to make a point, make a point, make a point, and then you sum it all up and tie it together with a nice bow. So a sonnet not only has a lot of structure with its rhyme scheme and its meter, but it also has a lot of meaning even within, and it's very structured. So they're difficult to write. I've actually had some students write them before. You can write a sonnet yourself for bonus points if you want to. Most of you probably don't need that. But so today we're going to be reading Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day? And there is a link to this on Google Classroom. I went ahead and typed it up in a document, and you can pull up your own copy. You can type on it. You can use it for your notes, whatever you want to do. But like I said, they have a strict structure. This one that we're reading today is an iambic pentameter, and if you remember that from our Julius Caesar days, it is where you have unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. You have 5 sets of these metric feet. So this is a foot, a foot, a foot, a foot, a foot, and so that's 5, and that's where we get the pentameter, or pentameter, if you want to think of it that way. So this is an iamb, where you have unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. And this is close to the way that we normally talk. So it's da-da, 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 if you wanted to do it really rhythmically. But usually when we read poetry, we just read it. We don't try to make it fit, a rhythm like you would with a nursery rhyme or something like that. Although it is tempting to do that. So this is the one we're going to be reading today. And I know that for some of you, this might be a little small. Actually, I think I'm going to erase this just so we don't have all of that. You can always rewind and get your notes written down later. But I think we'll just erase that so we have a nice open place here. Okay, so this is our sonnet that we're going to read today. And Mackenzie, if you're out there, I'm sorry, this might be a little small, but I'm going to read it. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. All right, so before we talk about the meaning, let's just break down the rhyme scheme. All right, so we want to start with A. So, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? So, day is A. All right, what about this one? Temperate. That doesn't rhyme, so that's B. May, back to A. And summer's lease hath all too short a date. So that rhymes with temperate, kind of, sort of. So it's kind of an approximate rhyme. So that's our B. So then we have shines and declines. And then dimmed and untrimmed. So we have A, B, C, D. And then we have fade and shade. So that's E. And then oest and growest. So that's F. And then we have C and D, which don't rhyme with anything, so it's GG. So that's your rhyming couplet there at the end. So your quatrains, you can see, are pretty easy to see once you break down the rhyme scheme. So this is one, right here, 4 lines. And then here's 1, 4 lines. And then here is your third set of 4 lines. And then your rhyming couplet. Okay, so that's how we break down the sonnet in terms of how it's kind of divided up. All right, so now let's talk about the meaning. All right, so he starts out with a question. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? So we're going to assume the thee here is the person that they love, that they care about. So question, should I? Should I compare you to a summer's day? All right, so what's a summer's day like? Well, look at what he says. Thou, we can always just say you are more lovely and more temperate. So should I compare you to a summer's day? Because you are actually better than a summer's day. You are more lovely, more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. So May can be windy, it can destroy flowers, and summer doesn't really last that long. So the question, should I compare you to this? Because a summer's day is a little iffy. You don't always know what it's going to be like. And it doesn't last very long. So I don't know, maybe should I compare you to a summer's day? Then look at the next quatrain. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines. Okay, well, what is this? The eye of heaven. Well, it's the sun. So we call this a metaphor. Good. All right, so the eye of heaven is a metaphor for the sun. So sometimes it's just too hot in the summer. And often is his gold complexion dimmed. All right, so here, what is the gold complexion? What is that referring to? Hopefully you've already figured it out. It's referring to the eye of heaven or the sun. So when Shakespeare says his gold complexion, what does this point towards? What kind of imagery or figurative language? Sorry, it's hard to do this on camera. All right, if you didn't catch that, that is personification right there, giving human characteristics to something that's not human. This eye of heaven, this is our metaphor. Okay, so gold complexion dimmed. What does that mean? Well, if it's shining, it's the sun's out, but if it's dimmed, it's cloudy or it's overcast, and it's not dependable, is what he's saying. And every fair from fair sometime declines by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. Okay, so fair from fair, we usually refer, when Shakespeare talks about fair in this time period, it would have been pointing towards beauty, beauty or loveliness. So every fair from fair sometime declines. So everything lovely in summer, in the summer's day, is probably going to decline. I mean, your flowers are going to bloom, but eventually they're going to die. The beautiful greenery that you see from the rains and springtime, eventually it's going to dry up, it's going to die, winter's going to come. So things are going to change because nature constantly changes. Now, look at the third stanza. But thy eternal summer shall not fade. Okay, so who's eternal summer? His love, whoever he's talking to. So for this person that Shakespeare loves, summer is eternal. It never ends. Nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. So in my mind, in the writer's mind, the person he loves is never going to fade. Their beauty is never going to fade. They're never going to lose possession of this beauty and the things that make him love her. Nor shall death brag, thou wanderest in his shade. Okay, so he's saying pretty much, and you're not going to die. That's never going to die. Now, we know that people are going to die. Everybody is. So let's see where this is going. When in eternal lines to time thou growest. So eternal lines, what are the eternal lines? These are the eternal lines. Shakespeare's lines are still being read today. I mean, this was probably written in the late 1500s, early 1600s. I don't actually know the year, but probably early 1600s. And this is 2020, and we're still reading it. So in many ways, it is eternal. The eternal lines of love have continued on. So this person has grown more lovely over time because it's eternal. I mean, at least as far as we read literature, it's very much eternal. Then the rhyming couplet, this sums it all up. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. So again, as long as people can see and read these lines, this is living on. This poem, this sonnet has lived on, and it has kept this person that he loves alive for all to see. So it's a pretty cool sonnet. I hope that you guys like it. I really like it. And if you really like sonnets, you might find another of Shakespeare's sonnets and read it and see what you think. In fact, we might have a separate assignment on that later this week. So anyway, you guys have a great day.